there, everybody. I hope everyone is doing well today. So I have a really cool lesson for you guys today. I'm really excited about this one. So today we are actually talking about how to spot fake news in the media. And that is going to apply to our second paper going forward. And our second paper is the annotated bibliography. But we're not going to talk about the guidelines until next class, so what we're going to be focusing on today is finishing up peer review first of all, and also talking about our schedule and what we plan for the next few days. So we are actually right here. So what we're talking about today, and what you should continue working on, is commenting on a fellow peer reviewer's rough draft on the discussion boards on Blackboard. So peer review is due by Wednesday, March 3rd by midnight. So what I'm focusing on today for Thursday's video. So what is due on Thursday is the final draft of your issue proposal, and that is due on midnight by Thursday, March 4th. And what you will do for that is to send and share the Google document link of your final draft, and make sure to send and share it to my email inbox by that day and by that time. Now, if you need an extension, feel free to reach out. I would be more than willing to take papers, maybe up until Saturday or Sunday, but I would like those soon, mostly so I can start grading them, and 6-week grades are actually due very soon as well, so I would like to make sure that I finish grading our issue proposals, the first paper, for 6-week grades. Now, 6-week grades will be available on Banner, and those should be, I think those are due next Friday by 3 p.m. So you should be able to view your 6-week grades by not this weekend, but next weekend. So yeah, that's just a little update from me on that, but I do want to thank everybody. Everyone has been doing a spectacular job with peer review, providing feedback on each other's papers. Thank you so much. You all have been doing wonderfully, and it's great to see you reaching out and communicating with your fellow classmates, especially even in a digital environment. It's just wonderful to see, so thank you so much for stepping up to do that. It is very much appreciated by myself, and certainly by your peers as well, I'm sure. But anyway, going from that, I would like to talk about what we will be working on over the weekend, or what your homework is over the weekend. So what I have assigned for the homework is to read the Little Seagull Handbook, pages 102 through 110, and that can be found under the Readings tab on Blackboard. So I will show you all where to find that, but if you go right under Readings, and right under the Little Seagull Handbook, pages 102 to 110, that is a chapter on evaluating sources, and that is very much going to coincide with the reading we'll be doing. So you are more than welcome to print this out. But it's only about 5 or 6 pages long, and what this chapter talks about is how to evaluate sources, or how to identify sources of fake news. Where are you getting your research and your resources from? So there's always 2 important things to keep in mind, especially with college courses going forward. So you want to make sure that your research is 2 things. 1, you want to make sure that it's peer-reviewed. And 2, you want to make sure that it's scholarly. So I'll be talking a little bit about what that means today, but we will be doing an in-depth workshop next week on that. But I will be hitting on some points. Now, the second part of it, of course, is to avoid plagiarism. That is very much what our next chapter is going to be focused on, is how to prevent plagiarism. And also how to include citations and quotes. And we'll be talking a little bit about MLA style as well. So that is very much what the reading over the weekend is assigned. That is what it is about. So the second thing that I'll be assigning is discussion board number 2, and that will be due on next Tuesday by midnight. So let me talk about that just for a second. So under our discussion boards page here, I have set up discussion board 2, and this will be coinciding with the lesson that I talk about within this video. So anyway, going from that, I would like to go ahead and talk about this lesson today. The lesson on ethos and evaluating sources, annotated bit part 1. So what we're going to be talking about today is research in ethos and getting ready to conduct research. So ethos, research recon. So what is ethos again? And getting ready to conduct research. So this is actually really cool. So this is actually a media page that talks about what different biases are from certain sources. And this is very interesting. So I would definitely recommend checking this out just because it talks about how there are biases in different media and also about this interactive media bias chart. So this is actually really cool as well. So these are all different news sources, and it talks about little different political biases from different sources. So there are all types of news companies on here. There's Fox News on here. I see the Weather Channel on here. I also see the Washington Times. I think the New York Times are on here too. So there's a bunch of different news sources on here. And how they sort of evaluate that has a lot to do about how these different sources have their research. So yeah, I see the New York Times on here. I see Forbes magazine on here. I also see PBS. So they have PBS sort of rated as a little bit more reliable than some other news sources. There's also CBS News on here. There's NPR. And there's also AP News. There's MSNBC on here. So yeah, it's just very cool to be looking at. They also have BuzzFeed on here. So these are all different things that we're constantly exposed to, especially on social media these days on Facebook. There's always a bunch of fake news on Facebook, especially these days with everything that's going on in the political climate that we find ourselves in. So the most important part to take away from this lesson, or at least in my opinion, is to sort of be able to evaluate the sources that you find yourself looking at every day. We are constantly exposed to these things, whether it's through TV, whether it's through podcasts, whether it's through advertisements, YouTube videos, all these different things. So that's what we're really going to be talking about today. And of course, these skills will go with you not only throughout college, but in the course of your life. So your job as a writer is to make a claim on a topic, then find information about it. Now, is this true or false? It's just something to think about for a second. Honestly, it is very much false. So your job as a writer is to make a claim on a topic, then find information about it. That is false. So you're reading for patterns and connections. So this is actually right from our little Seagull handbook here. So your task as a writer is to find as much information as you can on your topic, and then study the data you find to determine what you think and to support what you yourself then write. So talking about fake news. Making a claim before finding out information presents a problem, and the problem with that is that it doesn't support the rhetorical triangle. It doesn't It doesn't really cooperate with the rhetorical triangle or the rhetorical situation. So it can lead to misinformation. The best way to make an informed argument is to seek information and then make a claim on the topic. So how students define the role of news within their lives. And a lot of students very much claim that it's difficult to tell real news from fake news. Now, that is not anyone's fault. That is simply just the world that we are in today. We are very much in the digital age, especially within the pandemic. So the next start, or the next sort of challenge that we're going to be looking at, is the annotated bibliography. So you have been working to convince your audience that your topic will work for all of the English 1530 assignments within your issue proposal. And you convinced us that your topic will work because it is a researchable topic. Now, taking that a step further, and all of these assignments build upon one another, is to support the reason that you explain that you do have some knowledge about the issue, but there are still some things that you will need to research, or sort of think about the questions that you want to answer by looking through this research. You have drafted several research questions and you attempted to answer them as best as you could, and pointed to places you may be able to go to find the answers to the questions you have about your topic. So taking that a step further, we want to start thinking and focusing on that one point of the rhetorical triangle, which is, of course, ethos. So to ready ourselves for the journey, we will need to remember ethos. So we need to be able to tell if the arguments we encounter are relevant, current, and if they are truthful. And that is the most important part of this lesson, definitely, is being able to decide to sit down and look at a source and deciding if that main argument within the source is truthful or if it is not, and then therefore it will be fake news. So what is fake news?
Systematically of the United States on trade. It's a disgrace.
So this is actually a clip from one of President Trump's previous presidential speeches, and he talks a little bit about fake news. So that's only about a minute and a half long. But thinking about that, fake news is a form of news consisting of deliberate disinformation or hoaxes that's spread via traditional news media or online social media. So digital news has brought back and increased the usage of fake news or yellow journalism. And that is very much a term that has been used as muckraking or yellow journalism. So with resources like Google at our fingertips, information isn't that hard to find. But what is challenging is determine whether that information is credible and whether it can be trusted. So this is pretty interesting. So fake news is a real problem. Facebook engagement of the top 5 fake election stories. So much of this is fake news. And you can use any source as long as it is current, relevant, and truthful, but how do you know those sorts of things? So things like this, if we take a look at this, this is obviously very much fake news. I mean, this is a cover of a magazine. So Atlantis found it's not in the sea. Explorer finds secret city swept up into the Alps. And this is claiming to be the weekly world news. Computer virus spreads to humans. Now, these are all obviously fake news. Now, the second way to spot fake news media actually tends to be, now on things like Twitter and that kind of thing, they are starting to include tools to let you know when certain sources are manipulated. So obviously things like this are very much fake news. And this was actually a banned video. So just being able to pick out what is truthful, especially in today's world, especially with today's world on social media with things like TikTok out there, things like Facebook, things like Twitter. Now, they may claim that it's real, but of course, spotting those tools in the manipulated media is very much a dead giveaway that is very much fake news. So headlines like this: do masks work? No in MLA, Miami, Hawaii, Alabama, France, and the UK. Obviously, that is very much fake news and misleading. Some of these might even be conspiracy theories, or sort of put out there by more extremist groups out there. So this is another YouTube video. So this video is about QAnon, the conspiracy theory spreading fake news. And this video is about 10 minutes, but it talks very much about fake news and how to identify it as well. So thinking about this, we really do want to take about this, we want to take this at least a step further. So you will encounter two claims or two perspectives on a single issue. So in this claim 1 might be the earth is flat, and claim 2, the earth is round.
You think that with the beautiful photographs that we have.
So this video is about those two different arguments there. Now, we won't be doing this writing lab, but these are things that I would like people to think about when watching that video. So, what reasoning or evidence does each side use to support their claim? Which side had stronger evidence and why? What are your thoughts about the issue? Which side won your vote? Which side won your vote or belief? So anyways, the authors of the Little Seagull Handbook give you 10 suggestions for considering whether a source might be useful and whether it might be credible. So who published the thing? You also want to look at accuracy, making sure to look for clues about accuracy, whether it might be relevant, see what they are saying, what their main claim or argument is, and definitely check to see the website, where it came from. So just a small hint on that is seeing whether it came from .org, .gov, or .edu. Things like .net or .com might not be as reliable. And you also want to think about the author's credibility, and we have talked much about this. But another thing I would like to talk about is actually the CRAP test. So I know that's a silly name, but we will be taking a look at the assignment guidelines, but here is the link to the assignment guidelines, especially for our class. So I have useful links here. But the first thing that we really do want to think about is this library SUNY guide. So this is actually right directly from our JCC library. So fake news is news that you disagree with. It could be fabricated information. So what you can do about fake news is be curious and actively investigate your news stories and your sources. Use news sources that are accountable for their content, and use care before sharing those things, especially on social media. And learn to recognize your own biases. But anyway, going back to that slide, I would like to talk about the CRAP test for a second. So CRAP is an acronym used to help evaluate sources. And you can determine which sources have a high enough ethos to be included on your annotated bibliography. So C in CRAP stands for currency. How recently was this information published or posted? Can you find a publication date? If the source is not recent, will the date affect the information? Now, the R in CRAP stands for relevance. Does the information answer your research questions? Who is the intended audience? How do you know this? Now, 3 stands for authority. Who wrote the information? Are they an expert or knowledgeable in their field? Examples like for in the health information field, are they a doctor or a nurse? For scientific information, did a scientist or a researcher write it? Now, the second A in CRAP stands for accuracy. So the information, is it supported by evidence? Can it be confirmed by other sources? What evidence do you see? And of course, the P stands for purpose or point of view. Purpose is very much something that we have talked about, whether we were talking about the rhetorical triangle or the purpose behind your writing assignments, whether it might be anything that is within this course or just something that you're writing for work or for school. So purpose or point of view, why was it written? Was it to sell something or to sway opinion? Is it biased toward a particular point of view, and how do you know? So thinking about this a step further, this is what we will be doing as discussion board number 2, and I have assigned to watch this TED Talk linked right here, and it is about 6 minutes, and it talks about fake news and social media. So this is the writing prompt for our discussion board number 2. So start doing a bit of preliminary research on your topic. What sorts of sources and places might you look for more scholarly research? Keep in mind that sites like Wikipedia and some sites on Google may have some biases or be edited by the public. So did you come across any scholarly or peer-reviewed articles during your search? What sorts of interesting things did you find? This is a chance to utilize the elements from today's lesson about fake news and unreliable sources. And second of all, what did you think about the TED Talk? So this TED Talk is about 7 minutes long, and it talks about how fake news impacts us today. And I also have this link here about the CRAP test. So evaluating scholarly sources. So again, C is for currency, R is for reliability, A is for authority, P is for purpose. Now, there's also a link down here for analyzing scholarly sources. This might come in handy, especially with writing the annotated bibliography. You're going to be looking at some pretty long scholarly sources. So things to be thinking about, of course, when looking at any sorts of source, is looking at the title, the introduction, the thesis, and then going to evaluate it. Maybe a summary, sort of thinking about the main ideas and your opinion about the article and how it might apply to your argument. Now, the one thing that I would like to look at real quick, and we will be doing this in depth over the next couple of weeks, but one thing that I would like to look at actually is our JCC homepage. So this is our homepage for the library here. So this is the best place to go to look for scholarly or reliable sources. Now, the first thing that I would like to point out is if you ever need to chat with a librarian, we have some absolutely wonderful librarians. You can always chat with them live, and the best way to do that is to click on this button, Questions Ask Us. And you can always chat with a librarian. Now, if you need help tracking down some scholarly sources, you're more than welcome to talk about that. And it's not just for that, but if you have any questions about tutoring for class or research or how to write a paper, or whether you need help with a works cited page or citations or annotations, anything like that, they're usually more than willing to help you. But first, the first thing that I would like to talk about is the articles and the databases. So these list all of our scholarly databases. Now, one that I really like to talk about is opposing viewpoints. I really like opposing viewpoints because they tend to have a wonderful overview of stuff like this. And I believe they even have a page about fake news. So I would like to look at that just for a second. Okay, so this database is called Opposing Viewpoints. Now what this does, you can filter your search results. And a lot of these databases are like this. You can make sure to look for peer-reviewed journals and also full-text documents. Now let's say that you wanted to look at the topic of social media. It will come up with a bunch of results for you. So it will also give you an overview of the topic. So this article right here would definitely be helpful if you're looking at social media, stuff like that. Now this is the A through Z page. Now the databases that I tend to like are Opposing Viewpoints. That's a really nice one. And Academic OneFile is pretty nice as well. I do like Academic OneFile. So you can find your topic. You can also search for it. And it even allows you to highlight and take notes. So again, let's say I wanted to take the topic of social media and wanted to search for it. So again, you want to make sure that it's set to a peer-reviewed journal. And that it's set to full text. So here's a sort of interesting article about social media on Twitter. And these are all scholarly sources that you can use. You can print them out, you can download them. So let's say I wanted to download it. You can click on download, and then it will open up directly as a PDF. Now, once you have it downloaded, you can highlight, you can take notes on it. So that is definitely something that you might want to consider, especially with articles like this. Some of these are very long. And that's something that we'll be talking about a little bit more detail in next class about how to break down some of these really long scholarly sources. But anyway, I do want to return back to our database thing just for a second. Now, another one that I do like is CQ Researcher. I don't know if I like this one as much, but there are some interesting stories on here. Now, another one that I do like as well is Credo. And those are pretty much our main databases here. But again, I will go ahead and look at Credo just for a second and type in our example topic here of social media. Now what it does is that it will come up with a mind map here of different subtopics about your topic. So things that pop up in this subtopic, for example, is Facebook, MySpace, Twitter, LinkedIn, social media, marketing, user-generated content, that sorts of. Now you can also break down your results into articles, videos, images, And it will also give you an overview of your topic typically. That will also probably help narrow down your topic if you're sort of in the situation of not being sure where you're at in terms of being more specific about your topic. That's okay. The annotated bibliography is this wonderful chance to start looking at these subtopics and deciding what you want to concentrate on as the semester goes on, especially what students tend to find, or at least in 1530, is that once they complete the annotated bibliography, they have a better standing idea about the topic, what they want to focus on in particular, whether it might be a particular subtopic they find more interesting, and they also might find their argument or their claim or even their own opinions changing during the course of this research project. And that's okay. That's really the point of it, is that you might find yourself leaning towards a different direction, especially with results and going through all of these sources and those type of things. So it will also pull up different types of things, like let's take a look at one of these articles. Social media ethics. Let's say I want to take a look at that one. Now, it will also give you different options if you don't want to print it out and also would like it read out loud. This one isn't as long. Now, much of the structure of these scholarly articles is that you will find there's an abstract or a sort of introduction to the article, and then there will be sort of subsections of research. Now, under the references, those are the references that they tend to use when utilizing those sources within their own articles. Now, let's say that I wanted to cite this article. Now, we'll be talking about citations a little bit more in depth, but I do want to talk about it just for a second. So let's say, and we are working with MLA style, since this is an English course. So let's say that I wanted to save this citation. So it will give you the citation right at the bottom, and you can always copy and paste the citation. So anyways, that's just a brief overview of library databases, but like I said, we'll be going quite in depth about that. But what I really would like to focus on is that discussion board number 2. So the first thing that I would like people to do is to watch that TED Talk, maybe start doing a bit of preliminary research on your topic, maybe start looking at the library databases, thinking about what sorts of things that you want to be, or articles or sources that you want to be looking at in terms of your topic. And this is just a bit of preliminary research. So this discussion board is not meant to be very long, so maybe 1, 2, or 3 paragraphs. And once you have that ready, you can go to the discussion board page on discussion board number 2 and create a thread. And of course, you can post your discussion board. So anyway, that is it for today. But if you all have any questions or would like to reach out to me, please do so. I have office hours on this Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. as always. So if you would like to stop by, feel free. Or if you would just like to send me an email, that is fine with me as well. Anyway, that is it for today. I hope you all have a great day and a great weekend. Thank you, and please remember to turn in your final draft of your issue proposal by Thursday by midnight. All right, have a good night all. Bye!